a lot of people in America who are not black, most who are not black, would not have that concern in a million years that if the police pulled over their child, that something like this can happen. But you guys have had that well before this incident of this murder with George Floyd, you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to Sherry's point about, for a lot of people, this is a 9-minute video that they watch. For Black people, this is a 24/7 way of life for us. Even before we had the George Floyd incident, as Sherry said, we're in the midst of a pandemic, and my son is like, "Oh, I just want to get out. I want to go." And my wife suggested, "Hey, why don't we just get in a car and just take a drive around the town?" And his response was, "I don't want to leave the house because I might get shot and get killed if I leave the house." And that was not a flippant conversation. That was an earnest plea of fear and anxiety that's living on the inside of him constantly.
And how old is he, Paul? How old is your son?
He just turned 13 at the end of the month, and he's about 5'5". So for a lot of people, they would look at him and say, "Look, you look like a grown man." Yeah. And so our young men, they quickly turn from cute little boys into threats in society very quickly. And it happens around this age of 12 or 13.
I was going to say, your question was, did we think about that before? I thought about it with Trayvon, so it's always a constant conversation. And it's funny because we've been at the school that we're at since our kids were in kindergarten. And it was just real interesting for me to see how they went from these cute little kids to now, like Paul said, all of a sudden they're as tall as their teachers, or they're perceived in a way that will, not threatening, but just more aggressive, or the language has changed.
Last week, my son came in from playing after distance learning. And he said, sometimes when I go to 7-Eleven, because he and some of the kids walk to 7-Eleven, he said, sometimes when I go to the store, they don't give me a receipt. And I want a receipt. And so I said, well, then did they offer you a receipt? And he said, no. And I said, well, just ask for a receipt. But it reminded me of Perry.
Yes.
When you all lived in Playa Vista, him saying that he carried his receipt in his hand to make sure no one accused him of stealing. And so here a year later, I used to go to that same 7-Eleven and buy, a marathon bar, I'm dating myself now, and gum and all that kind of stuff. And it never occurred to me that I should have a receipt, or even say to him, hey, even when you're going to 7-Eleven and you've paid your money, you're on camera, you should probably ask for a receipt. So on his own, he brought that up, and that let me know that he is thinking about it, because it is something that we discussed. So one of the issues, it's not an issue for the kids, but it's an issue for me, is our neighbors are white and they play together every single day, and which is fine. The kids are great. They're playing hide and seek, and they are spreading throughout, 3 or 4 blocks. And so the concern is the neighborhood we live in is rapidly gentrifying, and the kids are hiding along the sides of people's homes. So when the white girls do it, people looking out their window, it's not going to be an issue. But my concern is they look out their kitchen window, they see my Black son, and then it becomes something else. So I've been walking this very fine line over the period of the pandemic on letting him know, hey, have fun, because this is like the 1980s all over again. I'm so happy for you. You guys get to play outside every single day for hours, but be safe, be smart. And unfortunately, you are going to have to hide in plain sight. And yes, that means you're going to get out, but I don't know where else he should hide. I mean, he can hide on the side of my house, but so it's constant. And I've got a little girl, and it's not an issue for her yet, but it will be as she gets older.
That changed